Welcome back to Tuesday Tips with Fitness. Today I'm going to talk about low back pain. I know we've all had that. Sometimes it is from overuse, but sometimes it could actually be some tight, weak muscles. So I'm going to show you a few tips on how to improve your mobility, which could be your glutes and your hips, not necessarily your lower back, but that's where you'll feel it, and some things to strengthen as well. So first of all, mobility. So your hip flexors actually connect through into your lower back. So a lot of times that's where you'll feel the pain. Simple stretches going from kind of your runner's stretch, or things like Cobra as well, where you're kind of reaching, pulling yourself up. This can also stretch your abdominals, which is a good thing sometimes. So we want to focus on stretching the hip flexors here. Something we can also do are hip openers, which is one of my favorites. So if you were to start with a nice wide stance, dropping the knees down to one side, and the heel and the knee should kind of line up, and just kind of going side to side, keeping that line up here, heel and knee, and just switching back and forth, trying to keep your torso in the middle and centered. So those are nice hip openers, kind of loosen up the hips, stretching the hip flexors. Your glutes, you have things like your piriformis stretches, which can be something simple like this, but you might have to lean back a little more or twist. You can kind of move to where you feel it the most. And then there's also something called like the figure four or pigeon stretch, where you're going to bring your foot up to your opposite knee, and you can reach through your leg and hug the opposite one, and you should feel it in that deep glute. And that's a good option as well. You can do it in a standing position too, but that's going to stretch those deep piriformis muscles. That can help with some of the glutes that are tight. And then we have this guy. So a lot of my clients don't always like when they see this, but they know it's going to help in the long run. So I'm going to show you a couple things with this guy. It's not going to feel great when you're doing it, but it's really, really going to help relax and release some muscles. So the first one I'm going to show you is for the hip flexor. And this one can also actually help with the quad if the quad is really tight, because the quad and the hip flexor kind of connect in the same spot where we're going to do this. So what we want to do is you're going to find that hip flexor muscle. So if you kind of find your hip bone, go 2 fingers below, and if you lift your leg, you'll feel that muscle kind of pop up. That's where you're going to place this ball. You're going to bring one arm up, and you're going to roll onto that ball, opening up this hip, and just try to relax as best as you can. Nice deep breaths. And you want to sit here until you feel that muscle start to relax. It's probably going to feel pretty uncomfortable at first if you're in the right spot. And then eventually you're going to feel that muscle start to release and relax. I'm going to kind of fast track it just to show you. Once you get to that point, if you do have really tight quads, you can also start to bend the leg slowly, and you'll feel that stretch in there as well. You'll feel that tension where the ball is, but also through the quad. And you want to do a few passes there. So with foam rolling, or self-myofascial release is what we call it, which could be with a foam roller, it can be with one of those sticks, it can be with a ball, a hard ball. It can't be too soft, otherwise when you put pressure on it, it's not actually going to put pressure on the muscle as much. But I like to just call it foam rolling in general. Obviously it's not all foam rolling, but self-myofascial release is really good to release those muscles, hence it's in the word. Next one is going to be more for the glutes. So what we're going to do is that dimple in the back, just a little bit below. If you ever see a skeleton, they're like the hip bones with the holes, that's where the hip flexors go through. So we're trying to find that spot to place this ball. It's usually at the top of the glute, kind of somewhere in there. If it feels pretty tender, then you're probably in the right spot. And you want to kind of slowly ease through all of these movements. So once the muscle kind of starts to relax, drop both legs if you can, and just wait for that muscle to relax. Once it starts to feel a little okay, then we're going to keep the pressure on the ball. So pushing into the ball, and you're going to bring your knee in towards you. Really focusing on keeping the pressure on the ball. Breathing through. Slowly release. Again, keeping that pressure on the ball. Pushing into the ball the whole time. And breathing through. Again, you want to do a few passes here. Once it starts to feel not so bad, we're going to bring the leg up to 90 degrees, keeping the ball exactly where it is. It's not moving, okay? Take a deep breath in. Exhale and just let the leg fall to the side. So this way, we're opening up the hips. And if you want, just rest that hand on top. It's going to add just enough weight to add that tension. Bring it back up. Deep breath in. Exhale, let it fall. And then just a gentle push into that ball. Same thing, you want to do a few passes. What I like to do with this is I let it fall, gently pushing, and then I just continue lengthening the leg all the way down and back to center. So you're almost doing hip circles with this. Letting it drop to the side, and then full extension all the way out. So you're kind of doing leg circles. After that, you can kind of twist side to side and just see how that feels. So that is some fascial release to help release the hip flexors and the glutes. Those are usually the guys that are causing that issue. The next one is weak muscles. So weak muscles in the core and the low back can also attribute to low back pain. Basically, the muscles are weak, and that's why they're sore all the time. We're sitting all the time, we're standing all the time, maybe we're just not working that core. First thing I want to show you is just the glute bridge. So really easy, something you can do at home when you're watching TV. We're just gonna plant the feet, rest the upper body, and you're just gonna lift those hips up, pushing the heels into the ground and lifting the hips up as high as you can, and then back down, sticking the butt into the ground, and then same thing, lift and squeeze the butt, really feeling it all through here. You might even feel it in the hamstrings, that's okay. We're getting that whole area worked. So those are your glute bridges. And then of course there's also plank. So plank we can do from the elbow. You can go toes, elbows are under the shoulders, and we're squeezing the glutes, belly button to the sky, and just holding that position. If you start to feel it in your low back, you lift the butt up a little bit. You don't want to be your butt too high. You don't also want it to drop down. That's putting pressure on the spine. So butt up, belly button to the sky, and there goes your plank. Start with whatever you can do. Always time yourself. Something like 20 seconds is a great start. If you can do even more, better. Always time yourself and just try to do one more second than you did the last time. And that's a great way to improve. For those glute bridges, aim for anywhere from 12 to 15 reps. Do a couple sets if you can, a little rest in between. Those are all great ways to help improve that low back pain, strengthen and stretch. Thanks again for tuning in, and until next time.